Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. Let me say something a little honest, and maybe a little familiar. There comes a moment when you're standing there with something just slightly too heavy, or a small problem that refuses to solve itself. Maybe it's carrying something just a little too heavy for your hands now. Or standing in the kitchen, turning a lid that won't quite give way like it used to. You pause almost instinctively and glance toward the man nearby, not to ask, not to demand, just to see if he notices. And sometimes he doesn't. Or he gives a polite smile as if the moment never quite reached him. Now we've all been told, especially in modern times, to speak clearly, to ask for what we need, and there's wisdom in that. But there's also something quieter, something older, that doesn't respond to requests, because when a man, especially later in life, feels that he is needed without being told, something inside him gently comes back to life. It's not about control or obligation. It's about a quiet pull, a desire to step forward, to offer, to feel useful in a way that gives him meaning. And the truth is, you don't have to say a word for that to happen. And if you find comfort in these kinds of conversations, the quiet ones that stay with you long after they end, I'd love for you to take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Wise Life After 60. It helps this little space reach others who might need it too. And to really understand why this happens, we have to look a little deeper into what quietly drives a man's need to provide in the first place. Understanding the Fervada reflex. Why? Have you ever noticed how a man seems more alive, not when he's being praised, but when he's being needed? I didn't understand this in my younger years. I thought men showed up because they were kind, or because they were taught to, but time has a way of revealing quieter truths. What I've seen over and over again is that something very natural awakens in a man the moment he feels he can make a difference in the world. It isn't something he learned from a book. It isn't a strategy. It's closer to instinct, something wired deep beneath logic. When a man steps in to fix, carry, or solve, his body responds in ways he doesn't even consciously think about. There's a small sense of victory that rises in him, almost like a quiet, "I did something right." And alongside that, a deeper thread begins to form. A feeling of connection, of being tied to you in a meaningful way. But here's where life today has quietly changed the dynamic. Many women, especially later in life, have learned to rely on themselves. And for good reason. You've carried responsibilities, solved problems, and built strength through years of experience. There's a quiet pride in that independence. But sometimes, without realizing it, that same strength creates a kind of closed circle, a life so well managed that there's no space left for anyone to step into, and when there's no space, a man doesn't feel where he belongs. It's not that he stops caring. It's not even that his feelings disappear, but something essential begins to fade. The sense that he has a role, a purpose, a reason to lean in, rather than drift away. I've come to believe that many men don't leave because love is gone. They leave because the feeling of being needed slowly disappears. And with it, the part of them that once wanted to give. And once you begin to see that, the way you handle even the smallest moments starts to shift. Found one, creating space for him to contribute. What if the moment you rush to fix everything is the exact moment he quietly steps back? It's a subtle thing, and most people miss it. Life presents a small problem, and almost instantly you move to solve it. Years of experience have taught you how you adjust, you handle it, you move on. Efficient, capable, independent. But in that quick reaction, I remember watching a woman at a small gathering once. The room was warm, conversations drifting gently, and she noticed the window was stuck. She reached for it, tried once, then paused. Not dramatically, not helplessly, just a small pause. She glanced toward the man beside her, not with expectation but with a kind of openness. He noticed without a word. He stepped in, adjusted the latch, and opened the window. It was a simple thing. But what stayed with me wasn't the action. It was the shift in him. His posture straightened, his energy changed, like he had quietly stepped into a role he didn't even know he was waiting for. That small pause, it invites him in. And there's another layer to this. It's not just what you do, but how you carry yourself in that moment. When your shoulders soften, when your expression isn't tense or guarded, something changes in how he reads you. You're no longer someone who has everything handled. You become someone he can gently show up for, not as a rescuer, but as a man with purpose. And when he does step in, something else matters just as much. The way you look at him afterward, not exaggerated, not performative, just a quiet moment of noticing, a soft smile, a glance that says, "I saw that." For many men, that look goes deeper than words ever could. It becomes a kind of silent reward. Let me ask you something, and I'd really love to hear your experience. Have you ever noticed a moment where you simply paused, and a man stepped in on his own almost instinctively? What changed in him? And in you? Because once you begin to understand this rhythm, you stop trying to control the moment, and you start allowing it to unfold. And that's where something deeper begins to take root. Not in what you do, but in how you receive what's given. Phase 2, mastering the art of receiving. Strangely enough, the real magic doesn't happen when a man gives. It happens in the moment, right after. I've seen this so many times, and I'll tell you honestly, it's where most connections either deepen or quietly fade without anyone realizing why. A man offers something small, maybe he fixes a loose handle, carries something for you, or solves a simple problem. And then comes the moment that truly matters, how it's received. Some people brush it off without thinking. "You didn't have to," they say, almost automatically, or they downplay it, as if accepting too much would make them seem weak. But what the man feels in that moment is not relief. It's distance. A quiet uncertainty about whether what he did even mattered. But when it's received differently, everything changes. There's a kind of warmth that doesn't need words. A genuine smile that lingers just a second longer. A softness in your eyes that tells him without saying it directly, "That meant something to me." It's not about exaggeration or making a scene. It's about letting the feeling land fully, honestly. Sometimes it's even simpler than that. A light touch on his arm, a brief moment of closeness when he steps near. These small gestures create something deeper than appreciation. They begin to link his action with a feeling, a quiet sense of connection, of closeness, of being valued in a way that goes beyond the surface. Over time, his mind doesn't just remember what he did. It remembers how it felt to do it for you, and that feeling becomes something he wants to return to. You don't have to encourage it with words. You don't have to guide it or explain it. When you receive with warmth instead of resistance, you create a space where his instinct doesn't just appear, it grows. And if you think you've already understood how men work, just wait. What we're about to explore next may gently shift the way you've been seeing this all along. Phase 3, the queen versus the damsel mindset. Strength can be a beautiful thing, but sometimes it speaks a little too loudly without meaning to. Over time, many women learn how to handle everything on their own. Problems get solved quickly, decisions are made without hesitation, and life moves forward with a kind of steady control. There's a quiet confidence in that, something earned through years of experience, but in that same rhythm, something subtle can begin to shift. When everything is handled so efficiently, so completely, there's often no moment left for anyone else to step into, no pause, no opening, no invitation, even if it's unintentional. And a man, standing nearby, doesn't always know where he fits. It's not that he doesn't care, and it's not that he has nothing to offer, but when there's no space to contribute, he slowly stops looking for a place to show up. Not out of frustration, not even out of awareness, just a quiet adjustment that happens over time. That's where the real difference lies. It's not between strength and weakness. It's between holding everything tightly and allowing just a little space to exist around you. A woman can be fully capable, fully independent, and still choose not to close every door, because when she does leave that space, something in him responds. He leans in a little more, becomes more present, more attentive, more willing to take part in the small things that build connection, not because he has to, but because he finally feels there's a place for him to belong, and that's what many people misunderstand. A man isn't looking to take over your life. He's looking to feel that his presence adds something to it. So the shift isn't about becoming less. It's about becoming open in a way that still honors your strength. And once you begin to understand that, you also begin to notice the small habits that quietly close that space again. Often without a single word. What kills the fervade reflex? Mistakes to avoid. It's rarely one big mistake that changes a dynamic. It's the small, repeated moments that quietly turn something off. Most of the time, it doesn't even feel like a mistake. It feels reasonable, logical, even necessary. But over time, these patterns begin to send a message. One that a man feels more than he hears. Sometimes it shows up as control, not in a harsh way, but in small corrections. Adjusting how he does something, stepping in before he finishes, improving the outcome just a little. It may seem helpful, but what he feels underneath that is something else. Like he's being measured, not trusted. And slowly, that willingness to try begins to fade. Other times, it looks like independence has taken just a step too far. A quick, "I've got it" before he even has the chance to respond. A habit of solving everything alone, not because he isn't capable, but because you've already moved ahead. And after a while, he stops offering, not out of rejection, but because the signal he receives is clear. There's no need for him. And then there's something even more subtle. Giving too much, too soon. Being the one who supports, fixes, provides, and carries the emotional weight right from the beginning. It feels generous. It feels kind, but it quietly reverses the roles. Becomes the one receiving, and the instinct to step forward never fully has a chance to grow. None of these things is wrong on its own, but together, over time, they soften something in him. Not his feelings, but his drive to show up in that particular way. The part of him that wants to protect, to provide, to contribute, begins to go quiet. And what's left isn't distance. Exactly, just a relationship that feels a little less alive. But the moment you become aware of these patterns, you also gain the ability to shift them gently, without force, and that's where everything begins to change. Not through effort, but through understanding. And before we part, I want to leave you with something simple, but important. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games or learning tricks to control someone's behavior. It's about understanding something deeper. The quiet way many men are wired to experience connection. At the heart of it, a man doesn't fall in love with you because of everything you do for him. He falls in love with who he becomes when he's with you. If in your presence he feels capable, if he feels like he can show up, contribute, and make a difference. If he feels seen not just for what he is, but for what he can offer, then something powerful takes root. Begins to feel like a man who matters, a man who adds value, a man who is quietly needed in a way that gives his life meaning. And when a man feels that way around you, he doesn't look for a reason to leave. looks for reasons to stay, so perhaps the real question isn't what you should say, but how you make someone feel, simply by being who you are.